Hi, guys. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope well. We have another podcast from The Bear Effect. Two thumbs. This guy, the bear with two thumbs. How was everybody's week? I hope they had a good time. We are having a story time show. And you know how much we love our story time. To everyone on IG, there you go. That's for you guys. All the hearts. So, our story time show. Story time is always very fun. I would like to tell you a story about a dungeon. A dungeon in Fort Lauderdale. A dungeon that does not like us. They like us if we're bottoming. They like to play with us. They like to have us in a position where they can take advantage, but they do not like us on top. They do not like us to be in a position where we are running the show. We are the teacher. We are the organizer. We are the presenter. We are the host. They have a long history of taking dominant black tops and creating problems or finding a reason to run them out of their space or make sure that they're not welcome. And this pattern is very prevalent, and all of their leadership pictures are very monochrome because it is not just us, it is POCs that they have a problem with being in a leadership position. And that is something that is prevalent and is here. And that's because racism still exists in the lifestyle for BDSM. It is a thing. So, again, if you are into race play, if that is a thing that you like, if you are into something that involves that, then great, wonderful, spectacular. I'm not going to yuck your yum. But that is definitely something you want to make sure that your person is a part of and okay with and involved with before you just jump right in. And thus leads to story time. There was this one time I was at an event, and at this event, I was a spectator. This is back in the day when I was still new to the local community here. I was coming from Ohio. I was just entering this community. I had just started going to events, and I was just the guy that liked to watch from the corner because I wanted to get a lay for the land before I got involved and started like really doing things in the local community. So I decided to kind of just wait, be patient, take a look at how things move before I just jumped in and let them know who and what I could do. And I was at a con, which is short for convention. I'm not going to say which one because that's not important. And at this con, there was a scene being played out between two people that was consented upon and agreed to, that was a race play scene, which again is not something that's super popular because some people are triggered by race play, and there tends to be a trigger warning, and there tends to be a situation where most dungeons will not allow that to be a public scene without there being a trigger warning or without them establishing that that's going to happen for everyone to say, okay, I'm good, and give people an option. So I was definitely surprised to see this going on at this con because people were just walking in and there was no way to consent or not consent to being a part of this scene. And as a voyeur, you are a part of it. So you have no choice. You walk in, it hits you in the face, boom, you're in. So this scene was going on, and it being a race play scene, there were certain ideas and words that were being thrown around that were very much push button topics. And the bottom for this scene was obviously someone who was POC. They were a person of color. They were someone who was quite obviously POC. You knew what they were just by looking at them. Now, the top, although they did, by the end of the story, let us know that they were Hispanic and that they were also POC, they did not appear to the naked eye to be POC. So it seemed as though this were a very straightforward race play scene of one race and another race, and boom. So, needless to say, one of the reasons why most dungeons don't allow public race play, because it can be triggering, was this perfect example of people being triggered by certain words and actions that were being used and certain things that were being said. There were a few people that went up to dungeon monitors, and me being who I was at the time, I was making sure to sit in a strategic area where I could hear and see everything, and heard some of the complaints that were going to the dungeon monitor I was closest to. And there were just a lot of people that were not very happy with the situation, and they tended to be people that were the same race as the bottom in the scene. And they made the same assumption that most people made of the top in this scene, and they were triggered, and it was a bad situation. Which, again, that's why race play is not normally something that's allowed in a public dungeon, that you cannot have a trigger warning conversation with the people that are going to be there. When you have a public dungeon where people are coming in and out, which is what happens at a con, it's advisable to be very selective in how intense your scenes are going to get. So, this particular scene went on for, I want to say, about 45 minutes. And it felt like it was supposed to go longer, but there were a couple of people that decided to interject themselves into the scene. Now, anyone that's been to a dungeon or a BDSM con, you know the rules. You do not interrupt a scene. That is pretty much universal. You don't jump into someone's scene. You don't interrupt someone's scene. You don't put yourself in a position where you are jumping into someone else's situation. That is not something that is okay. It's very much frowned upon. So this scene was interrupted by a few people. One of them was a dungeon monitor, but that was after the scene had already been interrupted by a couple people who dungeon monitors had politely asked to not interrupt the scene, and got themselves involved in, we'll just say, a little tiff because of the people that were triggered by the scene wanting it to stop. And as a dungeon monitor, your job is to try your best to keep the peace. So after there had been a couple interruptions, I assume that the person that was in charge said, okay, well, we're going to just kind of cut it short, because a dungeon monitor approached them. I don't know what was said, but the scene stopped after the dungeon monitor approached them. Now, you have to understand something about me. I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in the hood, projects. I am very familiar and very comfortable with violence. It took a lot for me to step outside of that person when I was a younger man, and it took a lot of maturity and patience to grow beyond that and to step away from being a person who resorted to that or used that. It took a lot of maturing, and it took a lot of therapy, and it took a lot of work to become who I am now, where I always prefer to walk away. I don't care if you insult me. I don't care if you call me a name. I don't care if you feel like something or you think you're going to do something. I don't have a problem walking away from a situation. And you can think I'm scared, and you can think that I don't want the smoke, or that you intimidated me. You can think all of that. And I genuinely don't give a fuck because I know what I'm capable of and I don't want to go down that road. So the better option is to walk away. But knowing what that looks like, you learn how to recognize that in other people. And there were two gentlemen that had been two gentlemen that had interrupted the scene that quite obviously were not happy with the results of the scene just stopping and this couple walking away. So they began to follow them. And I don't think that they noticed. And these particular people had been approached by a couple other people in the dungeon, and I did not hear what was said. I just saw what looked like an interaction that wasn't the best. And they decided that they were going to leave. I don't know all of the details. I just know that they packed their stuff and they started to walk out. And I noticed after they walked out, those two gentlemen also walked out. So I took it upon myself to say to the dungeon monitor, hey, y'all need to get a couple people outside because y'all about to have some shit in the parking lot. It's like some shit's about to go down. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? I was like, look, I don't know how closely you were watching the situation, but there's some shit that's about to go down in the parking lot. You need to get some people out there or call the police or something because some shit's about to go down. Somebody getting their ass whooped. I don't know who. I don't know what's going to happen, but somebody's going to get their ass whooped. So, of course, the dungeon monitor starts asking for details and he wants to have a conversation. And I'm like, look, you know what? Let's just go talk outside because I can show you better than I can tell you. Let's go talk outside. So the dungeon monitor's like, I can't leave, but the guy that runs the show, the head dungeon monitor, who is the dungeon master, who is in charge of the dungeon monitors, I'm going to get him so that you can handle whatever situation you have with him. All right, cool. But make it quick because so the dungeon master comes over and I was like, look, can we talk outside? I don't want to interrupt these people's scenes. I don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to create any situations, but there's something that needs to be addressed outside. So of course the dungeon master's like, what's going on? What's happening? I'm like, look, you asking all these questions and you wasting time. We need to go outside and have this conversation. So finally the dungeon master was like, fine, let's go outside. When we get outside, the two gentlemen that followed this Hispanic man and his young, beautiful black girl outside had this motherfucker hemmed up on a car and was about to change his whole existence, at least his whole night. They were definitely going to go somewhere different on this night than they were. And I was like, that over there, that's why I needed to talk to you outside. You need to go handle that. So, of course, he goes back inside, gets a couple other guys. They come out, they break it up, and there is a very long, very aggressive, very loud conversation that happens. And me being the person that I am, of course, I'm just standing there being the voyeur that I am. And I'm just, and in hindsight, that was not a good idea. One of them could have had a gun. Some shit could have popped off, straight bullet. Like anything could have happened. But I was so curious to see what was going to happen. That curiosity just got the better of me in that moment. I was like, yo, I got to see how this shit's going to work out. There was a bit of a scuffle. There was some rolling around on the floor. The dungeon master finally said, look, I'm going to call the police. Fuck all this. He went inside. And I said, I don't know if y'all heard him, but the police is on the way. He called the police. So at this point, the two gentlemen that started the fight, who were kind of being broken up and separated, they decided that it was best for them to leave. They got in their car. Moments later, their partners came running out of the dungeon con and jumped in the car, and that car drove off. And the man and his girl were still there, kind of explaining the situation and what was happening. And it was pretty much what we thought it was. These two gentlemen saw them having race play in the dungeon, didn't like the fact that they thought that a white man was being racist and aggressive with this black girl, and they were not okay with it. I don't know who they were. Most likely, they were probably new to BDSM and didn't have an understanding of how consent works or what happens in this situation. But it was definitely an interesting con. This was one of the more interesting conventions. Being someone who is comfortable with violence but still tries to avoid it, it's still fun to watch. Like, it is really fun to watch. UFC, boxing, like all that stuff is fun to watch, but it's when it's real life, oh, it's fun to watch. It's so much fun. Like, I don't know how many of you like porn, but if you like porn and you decide to go to a swingers party, and at the swingers party, you get to see live porn, guess what you're going to get addicted to? And regular porn ain't going to be enough no more. And you're going to start going to parties just to watch, because it's nice to watch it on TV, but it's so much better to go to the event. A football game is not the same on TV as it is at the game. Like, bro, you got to try it. I'm telling you. Yes, Baby Bear, you got to feed the eyes. And Baby Bear knows all about feeding her eyes. She is a true damn voyeur. All of the events we've been to, all of the splashes we've done, all of the parties and cons and stuff, I always know that at some point in the party, I'm going to get a pair of eyes that look at me and say, Daddy, can I go watch? And I always say, yes, baby, go ahead, because I already know what's going to happen. She going to bend the corner and she going to see something, and then it's going to be, ooh. And she going to stand and watch, and she going to have all the fun. And then that's going to start something, and I'll finish it. So if you are a watcher, if voyeurism is your thing, if you like to just sit back and be a fly on the wall and watch, then both the swinger and the BDSM lifestyle has a place for you. And we love the watchers. Now, we've had a bunch of conversations about the parties, the rules, and how the parties work. And there are parties that will have a participation rule or a dress down rule. So that is something that you have to be aware of. If you want to be a voyeur and you want to go watch, you have to be aware of those situations at whatever party you decide you want to go to. Because if you decide that you just want to watch and you just want to be a voyeur and you go to a party that has a participation rule, that's not a good look. And you might not get invited back. And you might make a bad name for yourself, because the rules for a party are not just a suggestion and they're not a joke or a game. Those are what those people are serious about, and those are rules that you are held to. So you have to keep that in mind. But plenty of parties don't have participation rules and don't have a dress down period. And they will welcome the voyeurs just as well as they welcome the people that are the participants. And there are a lot of people in both the BDSM and the swinger lifestyle that are exhibitionists. They like to be watched. They want an audience. They want people to look at them. You have men and women that want to show off, that want to be watched, and that turns them on, that gets them hyped, and that feeds all the energy they need for them to go ham. So without the voyeurs, they don't have an audience. You can't be a party full of just exhibitionists with nobody wanting to watch. For the exhibitionists, that ain't no fun. And you can't be a party of only voyeurs. That ends up being like a high school dance. Boys on one side, girls on the other side, nobody want to do nothing. So it's always good to have a mix. So for you people out there that think, I couldn't be a swinger, that's not for me, I can't get into BDSM, that's not for me, you don't have to do it. You can always go and watch. And that's always a good first step. I get a lot of people that are curious. And, everybody talks about curiosity killed the cat. Well, satisfaction brought him back with 8 lives to spare. So, satisfy your curiosity so that you can continue living. If you are curious, if you're not sure if swing is for you, if you're not sure that kink is for you, you don't know, but you're curious, go to an event as a voyeur. Dip your foot in the water to see how you like it. There is no rule that you have to do everything at a party. I get a lot of people that have never been to a party before, that have never been to an event before, that have this idea in their head that, oh, I don't want to go because I don't want to do nothing. There are plenty of parties where you don't have to do anything. You can just watch. You can just satisfy your curiosity. And if you see and you watch and you don't like it and it's not for you, then don't go back. But if you go and you watch and it's good and it's tasty and you wet your palate a little bit and it just intensifies your appetite, then you might discover that this is for you. And a lot of people, that's how they get started. I'm going to go to a party and just see what happens. I just want to watch. I just want to see what it's like. I just want to hang out. I just want to kind of just be there and feel the energy and see what it's like. And then you have a ton of people that go to swinger parties or BDSM parties and literally don't do anything. They just want to hang out. They just want to be around like-minded people. They just want to kind of just hang out in a place where they can be around the people that don't judge them because they like certain things and that maybe like the same things or into the same things, and they don't necessarily do anything. There's no rule that says you have to do something or that you have to participate. So go try it out. Everything's worth trying it out. That's that ish right there. Because you don't know what you don't know. And the worst thing that could happen is something we call regret. I wish I had gone to that party and seen what it was like. I wish I had tried it out. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. If you are one of the people that tune into the show and every time Mercy and I talk about a party that we were at or an event that we went to, and you like, damn, I wish I had gone. You should have gone. I wish I had been there. They sound like they had a good time. You could have been there. What's stopping you? And there are legitimate reasons not to go. I have to watch my kids. That's a pretty good fucking reason. I ain't got no babysitter. I'm nervous and I don't know what it's going to be like. Well, shit, if you never go, you never going to know what it's going to be like. Try that shit out and see what happens. You might fall in love. Shit, that might be the problem. If you go to a swinger party and you fall in love, oh, you definitely going to have problems because that's not the move. Not at a swingers party. That's not the fall in love atmosphere. You're not in the right place. That's not what you're looking for. Just so you know, that's not what you're looking for. Don't get me wrong. You might get lucky. You might be the outlier. You might be the exception to the rule. But generally speaking, falling in love with somebody at a swingers party, no. Bad idea. Maybe it'll work. Possibly. But the odds are not in your favor. So, understand where you are. Understand what goes on there. And enjoy yourself. Have fun. Do your thing. Now, we will be having, and not we as in the Bear Effects podcast, but we as in Sentinel Bear and Company, will be having a night or a day, or maybe a day and a night at the rooftop where we will be doing all kinds of kinky shit. It is going to be the weekend after Thanksgiving. I do not have the details. I have not made concrete plans. This is potential. This is an idea that I came up with and I've been kind of throwing around in my head. And I did not come up with concrete plans because I needed to gauge interest first. But my idea is to have a day at the rooftop where I am doing suspensions, rope impact, fire, and electricity. And you will be able to come out and you will be able to experience any one of those things at the rooftop. And the reason the rooftop is a great place for this is because it is a public space. You don't have to be locked in a room with me. You don't have to be in a position where you have to be there by yourself and I am this big scary guy that you don't know and you're not comfortable. You can bring a friend. You can bring a safety partner. You can have people there to watch, or you can do something that's a little bit more private if you want to get a room because it's also a hotel. So you have the option of doing something in public or something in private. And because again, it is a hotel and it is a public hotel, you have the option to bring a friend or what I call a safety partner. And a safety partner is just I don't know this motherfucker and I don't want to go by myself. So I'm going to bring somebody so that if he try to kidnap me, at least I got somebody that can punch him in his bad leg while he got me grabbed up around my shit. And anyone that knows me knows that for that situation, you have to pay extra. You're not just going to get that for free. Like anytime somebody wants to get kidnapped, oh, that costs more. You don't just get kidnapped for free. I'm not kidnapping motherfuckers for no cost. Who does that? By surprise? The fuck? Believe me, don't nobody you know have the type of ransom that I would need to be paid for me to go through that trouble. And that's just gonna make my knee hurt. All that fighting back and shit. Now I got to find out if this rag smells like chloroform and I need you to test that theory for me. That's just too much. I can't. Oh, baby bear, you've been kidnapped for quite some time now. But yes, we can do a role play. I understand what your question is, and we can do a role play. We will discuss more about that. This is their time. Your time is pretty much all the other time. So if that is something you're interested in, if that's something that you want to participate in, if that's something that you would just like to come and watch, I need you to send me a DM on Telegram, Instagram, or X, letting me know that that's something that you're interested in. Now, I am not trying to make money on this, but I'm also not trying to come out of pocket. So there might be a small fee, $10, $20, something like that, depending on what it is you want and how involved that is. And if that's something that we can get enough interest for, I would be willing to do it for free. But again, I need to gauge interest. I need to see where this is at. I have had quite a few people at the last couple parties that have asked me for suspension and have asked me for rope. And that is the best place I can think of to be able to have a public area where you can bring a safety partner or you can bring someone who you feel comfortable with, because not everybody feels comfortable meeting up with me alone in a hotel room to try and do some kink. And I am completely 100% okay with that. I have absolutely no problem with that. I don't take it personal. That's not a thing for me. That's not an issue. And again, anyone that feels like I am dangerous and I might kidnap you, you are absolutely right. But it costs extra for that to happen. And I am happy, thrilled, overjoyed to create that situation for you. But that does take a lot of negotiation, and you have to pay extra for kidnapping. But I love to do it. I am so super happy and excited to create a CNC experience for any person that would like one. I have constantly and consistently had so much fun with CNC. Even the ones that did not work out and had to get ended early because somebody safe worded, or the police were called, or I got pulled over, or I was put in the back of a squad car, or there was a gun drawn on me. Even in those situations, it wasn't necessarily a bad memory, although it could have been a bad night. I look back on it now as, hey, I probably should have done that differently, and I learned a lesson from that. I know how to do it next time so that doesn't happen. So that was just a learning experience. And even though that was a bad night, it's still a good memory. It's still a good story. The next story time, you might even hear one of them. So there was a police-involved CNC scene at Aventura Mall that did not go very well. That ended up being a funny story. But in the moment, it was not funny at all. Because Aventura police do not play when they think you're trying to kidnap somebody. Like, it is not a game. They are serious. And it did not go well. It was so bad. So very bad. Oh, shit, it was bad. But it's a funny story now. So we'll talk about that next story time. Anyway, that being said, remember to send me a note, DM, Instagram, Telegram, X, Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it nowadays. Send me a DM. Let me know that you're interested. It is going to be the weekend after Thanksgiving. There may be potential for that to happen on a every 3 month or so basis, depending on how many people are interested and how many people want to do that. The possibilities are suspension, rope, fire, electricity. You can, or an impact, of course. How could I leave out impact? You can experience any one of those 5 things. If you would like to do some vetting, I can give you information of people that I've played with in the past that can tell you or answer whatever question you have about me, how I do things, what I do. If you want to just come out and watch, as long as the person that is bottoming has okayed an audience and they are all right with people watching, whatever scene I have with someone who has said they are okay with an audience being there, you can come and you can watch. You don't have to participate. This is not something that you have to get involved with for participation. When you send me the DM and you let me know that you're interested in joining this situation, you can let me know that your interest is as a voyeur, that you do not want to have, and that is 100% okay. That is fine. You will not have to pay the same price. You probably won't have to pay anything depending on how many people are interested in doing this. If you do, it is going to be a very small fee, just so that I don't have to come out of pocket. And this is something that's not going to cost me money. I am only interested in breaking even. I do not need to make any money off of this. Now, for those of you that have been told that you are too big to be suspended, that is a lie. There is no such thing. I have suspended women that are 300 plus pounds. I have suspended men that are 300 plus pounds. And that was not the upper limit of what can be done. Most riggers do not like suspending large bottoms because they don't have the know-how. When you're suspending a large bottom, you have to use different rope, different knots, and you have to know a little bit more about how anatomy and blood flow circulation works. Those are classes that I have taken and trainings that I have done, so much so that I used to teach the class on how to suspend large bottoms. So if you are a bigger person and you want to experience suspension, and that is something that you have been told that can't be done, that is a lie. It can be done. For those of you that have no experience with suspension whatsoever, understand suspension is rope play and it is intense. I do need to have a negotiation with every person that I play with. There is a possibility that you cannot be suspended if you are insulin dependent, because that is a situation that can create a problem for you with passing out, with nausea, with blood flow and circulation. High dose, high blood pressure medication. That can be a problem with ligature marks becoming bruises or bleeds or blood clots being formed in your body. Any kind of blood thinner, you will not be suspended. With blood thinners, I'm not going to take a chance on suspension. There are other things you can do, other types of play you can be involved with. Most of it's going to be light play, but anything that leaves a mark, anything that causes a bruise, anything that plays with your circulation, you will not be doing with me. I'm sure someone somewhere will play with you and do all of those things, but it ain't going to be me. It won't happen in my dungeon if I am a dungeon master, and it will not happen in my dungeon if I'm a dungeon monitor. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to be happy about it. I don't care about any of that. Okay. Blood pressure, blood thinner, insulin, back issues. If you have a back issue and you don't know what it is, or you're not specifically aware of what your back problem is, there are certain suspensions you will not be able to do, and that is most of them, because that will create pressure on your back in one way or another. Some pressure is compression, some pressure is separation, depending on what your back issue is and how your back issue works. One may work, one may not. For some people, suspension makes them feel great, because if you have a back issue that is a compression issue, there are certain suspensions that create separation, and that will help you, and it will make your pain feel better. So, depending on your situation, it may work, it may not, I don't know. I just want people to have the correct expectation, so that if you come and you want to be involved and you can't for one of these reasons, I just want you to be aware that that is a possible situation. Now, there's a very good possibility that all of this, you might be on high blood pressure medication, but it's low dose and you want to do suspension, and that's fine. You might be insulin dependent, but you haven't had any episodes. Your blood sugar has been under good control for the last 90 days. You're on low dose. Your insulin dependency is based on low dose. You don't have a high dose, or you use a monthly or something like that, where you're insulin dependent, but it's a very light dependency, or you have it very well controlled. In those situations, you're fine. You're no problem. So these situations are not something that keep you from being able to play. It just lets me know what I need to do differently, or what steps I need to take to make sure that I'm being safe with you. So it's very important that you're honest with the negotiation and the things that I ask. And don't be scared, oh, if I tell him the truth, we're not going to be able to do this. No. If you tell me the truth, I know what I need to do in order to be able to do this in a safe way. But it's not something that's definitely going to mean you can't do it. So just be honest. Now, feel free, if you do have a question, to put the question in the DM when you send it to me. Hey, I'm interested, but I am on blah, blah, blah. And we can discuss it a little bit. We can go back and forth, and I can give you a better idea of whether it's something that will work for you or not. That's fine. No problem. I've had people that say, they don't want to discuss their medical history with me. They don't want me in their business. They don't want to answer these questions. And that's perfectly okay. You don't have to answer them. You're not going to get suspended, and I'm not going to play with you, but you don't have to answer them. And that's fine. No is a perfectly acceptable answer from you and from me. So, I do believe that's our show for the evening. Thank you all for tuning in. I love all of y'all. Did I get my Instagram hearts? Did my Instagrammers get hearts over there? No. Did I get my balloons? No. No thumbs up balloon. Instagram bullshit. So, thank you all for tuning in. Remember, like, subscribe, press all the buttons. Oh, now you want to do the fireworks. Oh, Instagram, shit. Like, subscribe, do all the things. You have 2 thumbs for a reason. Use your like thumb, use your subscribe thumb, press the buttons, do the things. We love you, and we're out. I wish I had some music to play. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye.